Just as an aside before I start this video,
Anthony Davis, if you do that shit to where you act as if you're injured on the floor one more goddamn time.
greetings ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's me, Levels, here to bring you your daily dose of NBA content, where I guess in this case it'd be weekly. Let me explain that for a minute. I guess for a week and a half have been really busy in terms of schoolwork. It just feels as though every single piece of time I had in between that, I went to like an event, which is like, for example, the 76ers game that I went to where they played the Hawks, or like the Nets game to where they played the Pacers, or even that J. Cole concert that happened. I was just every single time I had some free time, I went out to do an event. So I really apologize, in advance in saying that. I probably should have recorded some little, 2-3 minute videos in between so I can keep this consistency with this channel going, but let's get into it. Okay, so first I want to start off in the East. Let me say this, right? And just as a disclaimer, I probably should put some red right here and saying it's only the first, 6-7 games. I think for most of the league have played 6-7 games by this point. It's only 6-7 games, so let's take it with a teeny pinch of salt. But the Bulls look nice, and I was the one saying I believe they're going to drop to an 8th seed. I might have to change that around a little bit. We're going to talk more about them, the Sixers and the Celtics, a little bit later in terms of their seeding. But the Chicago Bulls look great. I'm looking at, NBA.com, and in terms of team stats, they're almost top 10 in everything. I was a little bit worried about their half-court offense because it seemed like they're more of a run-and-gun type of team to where they're just looking to lock you down the defensive end and just get out and run. Get those easy transition buckets, especially since they have like a lot of ISO scores, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, even Vucevic can take you on the post a little bit here and there. But it seems like more of an ISO team. And I expect when the season starts to slow down a little bit, more towards the middle and the end, they'll probably dip in terms of wins. Or I don't hope that they dip, but I think that's probably what's going to happen. They took the NBA by storm, and I'm happy for them. Now, granted, the Bucks right now are 10th seed. The Nets, I believe, are 8th. The Hawks are 9th. Like, all three playoff teams are at the bottom of the conference right now. So, like I said, don't take things like this too seriously. I mean, the Raptors are in the playoffs. If the playoffs are today, the Raptors will make the playoffs. The Wizards, the Hornets, they're all gonna drop, and they're not gonna be in the playoffs anymore. So, don't be too concerned by how the standings look right now. But Miami looks legit. I already said that I had Miami being the sleeper team for this year. I truly believe they can make a deep playoff run. They look immaculate right now. Tyler Hero looks like he's running away with the most improved player award right now. Maybe OG Anunoby and Jordan Poole is still sticking around, but he looks like he's clearly in the lead. So, and Miami looks like they could beat any East team and make it to the finals. That's just my pick. That's just what I think. I think they have the potential to beat anybody in the East, and it really doesn't matter who it is. The Nets still look like they're missing Kyrie. Granted, I still think they can make a top 3 seed if they get used to what the pieces they have right now. The Bucks will recover once Drew Holiday comes back. I believe even Chris Middleton's injured right now, but they'll recover. They'll be fine. The Hawks will also hit a little bit of a bad stretch. That game against the Sixers, oh my God, they had him locked up, don't let me out. Oh my goodness, it was bad for Trey. It was bad for. I think this is a very important thing that we have to talk about in basketball in terms of shot selection. Boston and that Atlanta game is a very good example as to why you really should prioritize getting up good shots. Because if you're constantly taking bad shots, not only are you giving the opponents more possessions, but you're making it harder on yourself to get a run going. And Atlanta just couldn't pick up anything in that game. They couldn't chain together any runs. So with that hanging out in the East, I think I'll boost the Bulls maybe between 7 to 5. So if I had to, put my money on it right now, right? I believe the Bucks are going to end up as 1, Nets are going to end up as 2. In fact, switch that. I put Miami as 2, Nets 3, Hawks 4, Knicks 5. I have Sixers 6, Bulls 7th, and Celtics 8. I mean, the point guard situation with the Celtics is just so. Marcus Smart is a ball hog, right? He's not a ball handler. And seeing as to how, they're definitely the bottom last in the NBA in terms of assists, and they have such dominant ISO scores on their team, the ball doesn't get to move a lot, like he said in that interview. And I can't see them winning with that kind of play. I really don't. Maybe they'll pick it up later in the season, but I feel like that in Miami, that's going to persist throughout the course of the season. I think Boston's going to be a very low seed, despite Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum being absolutely phenomenal talents. I think they're going to drop, and I think the Bulls are going to boost just a little bit higher. 7th, 8th seeded team, right? I don't think they're going to make the 6. The Hawks, the Knicks, and I think the Sixers are going to prevent that from happening. Let's talk about the West. Lakers fans. Laker Nation. What's good, y'all? Let's talk. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? We're going to be all right. We're going to be fine. And, I'm not going to be a hypocrite saying, oh, it's the beginning of the season, then turn around and act like the Lakers just won a championship. No. The Lakers are playing good as of late. Granted, they have been playing pretty sub-500 teams, non-playoff teams. But I think this is important, especially early on in the Lakers season, to where they have to get used to each other. They have to understand what lineups work, where guys like to be on the court, what they can do, different matchups and all that. I think it was important that we had a long stretch of playing these teams that aren't very good, so we got to figure things out. Please keep Anthony Davis at the center position. I know that'll probably take away from some of the interior defense that we have, either them starting Dwight or DJ at the center. But I think in terms of mobility's sake, for the team to be able to move around the court, it's so important. Anthony Davis can move, right? And that helps Westbrook, that helps Bron, two people who just crash into the lane and, they drive hard. And I think that's important for the betterment of the flow of the starting lineup in general, right? Westbrook, that last game against the Rockets, very close game, not as close as I'd like it to be. But at this point, I think I've realized something. The Lakers have never been a team to blow anybody out. Even when they won the championship, those 2-3 years that we had, I think we only had Anthony Davis 2 years. But for as long as I've seen and watched these new look Lakers, they've never blown anybody out. So when Lakers have these close games, I'm like, man, maybe they aren't as good as I thought they were. Nah, dude, that's just the way that they are, bro. And I still like the way they played the other day. Granted, Russ didn't shoot so well, from the 3-point line, but I think that'll get better to pick up over the course of the season. If he can hit 1 out of 3, I'll take that, right? 30%, at least 30%. I'll take that, right? As long as he's not jacking up 6, he's 2 of 6. I'll take a 1 of 3, right? As long as he's not taking too many, but he gets at least that 1, right? Pretty sure everyone else, in terms of their struggles on the line, hopefully will not continue to the middle of the season, because that will definitely lose you some games down the stretch. But the sense of pace, I still love it. I love the way that they're pushing the pace on fast breaks, getting those easy buckets, not settling for anything less, kind of like what Chicago Bulls are doing right now. Just getting those easy transition buckets, especially for Westbrook, especially in this system, doesn't do so well in the half-court set. It was going to come down to it eventually, ladies and gentlemen. Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo is exactly what I have been looking for. I don't know about anybody else. I don't know about y'all Lakers fans or wherever you're at or how you feel about Melo. He's what I've been looking for the past couple of years. I have always said this about the Los Angeles Lakers. Why do we not go out and get players, pieces that can take the load off of Anthony Davis and LeBron James when it comes to bench scoring? Even when LeBron first came here, right? It always felt like the second he left the court, or even when he was playing with Anthony Davis, the second they left the court, our benches forgot how to play basketball. It's just nothing went right. Plays weren't ran correctly. Spacing was off. The Lakers were known historically to have these long droughts during the playoffs and the regular season when their bench came out. They just could not score. And thank the Lord. Personally, I wanted DeMar DeRozan to fill that role, but Melo fits it just perfectly fine. And he's a spot up and 3-point shooter, which, helps even more because the Lakers actually were not that great of a 3-point shooting team when they won a championship. He's just a godsend, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty much the only way I can put it. Granted, his shot selection isn't fantastic, but, when in these last couple games when they needed him most, man, he pulled through. And I think in terms of winning a championship, that is going to be so important, to be able to come off the bench, to be able to come in with a starting lineup and produce like this. Couple quick jump shots, quick threes, and he stretches the floor. And that's the thing I love, because you can't help off of him. You can't. So when people like Westbrook or Bron are driving to the rim, you have to respect the fact that you're guarding Melo, right? You're not gonna reach into Bron and just have that little hollow contest. No, you have to respect him. And I think it's only gonna go up from here. Yes, we're gonna make mistakes. Yes, we're still trying to figure things out. But I like what I see, pushing the pace, getting Anthony Davis involved early. Russell Westbrook, granted, he moves 0-4 the other day, but at least he didn't take 6, 7, 8 threes. I'm really starting to like this new look Bron, being comfortable taking those amount of jumpers. He produced a lot in the fourth quarter the other day. And Ronda's going to have to find a way to be able to take, DJ and Dwight and make it work on the bench. Granted, I can't wait for THT, Kendrick Nunn, Trevor Ariza to come back, because I think that will complete the team, because they're all either, guys can give you those 5, 6, 8 points and get their own shot, or they can lock that defend and shoot, right? THT and Kendrick Nunn are sort of those, they can get you a quick bucket, right? And Trevor Ariza is a 3-and-D type player, so that'll only add to the amount of depth that we already have for the Lakers lineup right now. And I'm excited, man. I really am. Before I leave, let me comment on the rest of the Western Conference. The Warriors. They're looking good right now. I'm getting worried. And they look so good, ladies and gentlemen. What do you expect from the Golden State Warriors? I believe they're 6-1 right now. When they get Clay back, it's about to get dark for the West, man. It's about to get dark. Draymond Green is shooting well for the three-point. Oh my God! And it's just Golden State looks dangerous. And man. And I expect nothing less. And Steph's probably going to make All NBA first team this year. They're going to be a dangerous. I expect them to make the conference finals this year. Honestly, they have probably one of the best shots besides the Lakers to make the finals this year. Don't sleep on Golden State. And how do I talk about the Jazz? How do I talk about it feels like they're missing something every single year. It feels like they're just missing that one piece that could push them, launch them, if you will, into that being a favorite in the West. Rudy Gobert anchors their defense, and he's probably going to end up being one of the top defensive centers ever, like a Dikembe Mutombo. But I feel like because they have great depth. They have an amazing interior defense. They have Donovan Mitchell, who's close to being a superstar. He's not there yet. But they just need that second piece, that co-star to Donovan Mitchell to really help them in the playoffs. 'Cause I think last year they also had those droughts, when it came to playing the Clippers in the playoffs. And I think that's their main concern, right? They need another dominant scorer besides Donovan Mitchell to really help them in the playoffs. And they're always a top 2-3 seed, right? They have been for the last 2 seasons. But what else? Who can the Jazz get? What else can they do to be able to launch themselves into the conversation with a Golden State? Or a Lakers, right? It's just so sad to see them every year. They look like the 2017-2018 Toronto Raptors. They're a well-built, really good, deep team. But when they run into Bron or they run into Steph, that's their ceiling. It's just sad to see. And before I end this video off, ladies and gentlemen, Ja Morant. I was under the influence that Ja Morant was what's the type of player I'm looking for? The Bradley Beals, right? The CJ McCollums. That's what I thought that Ja Morant was, and my God, did he prove me wrong. In terms of young players, he's right there with Trey, Trey and Luka and Jason Tatum. I believe there's a gap. I think there's it's the Treys, the Lukas, the Jason Tatums, the Ja Morants. There's a little bit of a gap, and then you can just say the Zions and the LaMelos. Ja Morant has now established himself in that group of players. Man, he's carrying the Grizzlies right now. He's such an absolutely explosive player, and he's a generational talent. And it's crazy to see him grow over these years and watching him develop. And the Grizzlies have a real chance to make the playoffs this year. Not like the fluke last year, right? To where they beat Steph and Golden State, but Steph really didn't have Clay. In fact, let me not say that's a fluke. They won the game fair and square, but granted, Steph didn't have Clay, and Draymond, for some reason, just afraid to take a fucking layup. They can make the playoffs, and they could be a dangerous team moving forward. And I mean, granted, if they said today who are going to be the Western Conference All-Star starters, ladies and gentlemen, that's Steph and Ja. It's not Steph and Luka, or Steph. I mean, Dave's playing terrible, but it's Steph and Ja. I mean, and while we're at it, I'm pretty sure Devin Booker's going to play better. The Trailblazers and Dame, they're going to play better, ladies and gentlemen. Everything will come back, right? I'll save the free throw argument for another video, because I think this video is getting a little bit too long. But, I'm still afraid of the Warriors. I think the Lakers are going to start, you finally get to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Things are looking up. Ja Morant and the Grizzlies fans, you have something to really be excited about. And in the Eastern Conference, don't worry, the bottom teams, they'll catch back up. And let's see how far the Chicago Bulls can take this thing. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for me for today. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe if you haven't. I do apologize for being a little bit late on these videos. I had a lot of stuff to do in between, last video and this video, but I'm trying to get back on track. In fact, I'm actually have to do an essay right after this. So, thank you so much for the view, and I'll see you in the next one.